What's up, everybody? Hello and welcome back to Gaming 101 with Mr. Berger. Tonight we're going to take a look at this awesome Golem Double Prince deck. When I say double prince, I mean of course the prince and the dark prince. Now, it is the time of the Lunar New Year, so the Lunar New Year challenge is upon us, and in fact there's only a day left in it at this point, so by the time you're seeing this video it may be over, but let's go over it really quickly. Stage 1 is just a regular casual challenge. There's no special rules, and in the casual challenge losses don't matter, so you get crowns to collect your prizes, and when you lose, you don't lose out of the challenge like you would with a grand challenge or a classic challenge or any other special challenges. Stage 2 is a double elixir challenge. So this deck that I'm showcasing is what I use to clear all 6 wins in this stage, Stage 2, the double elixir challenge. But this deck is definitely viable in basically all modes. So you can use it in ladder, classic or grand challenges, double elixir, probably even triple elixir, although you might want to make a few adjustments like take out the elixir pump. And you could definitely use it in the ramp up challenge. I've done one battle with it in the ramp up challenge, which is stage 3 here already, and I was able to win it. Now this is all done on my main account, not on the account that I'm using right now, my alternate account where I'm showcasing these replays. So why don't we go ahead and jump into some replays here, and I'll go ahead and talk about the deck, and I'm going to try to take a little bit less time talking about card replacements, because I noticed in my last videos, in most of my videos, I spend too much time talking about card replacements, and I'd rather, just kind of spew out some of the possible replacements quickly and why they're good, and then get on to talking about the replays. So let's talk about opening moves, first of all. So you don't want to open with your golem, and that's the most important thing. Unless for some reason you know that there's a really good opportunity to open with golem. I can't really think of one off the top of my head, unless it's a 2v2 or it's like triple elixir or something like that. Then you don't use golem as your first card. You want to kind of hang on to that until you got a chance to feel out their deck. Now notice what he did there with my pump. He fireballed my pump in my tower, and you're going to see that a lot. That's something I'll talk a little bit about more in a little while. So don't open with your golem, feel out their deck. It's a little bit risky because he costs 80 elixir and then they can easily counter push, as I talked about in my counter push with cycle decks video, the video where I talk about how to beat a heavy push deck with a cycle deck. So don't open with him for a number of reasons. Once you've felt out their deck and you've got some elixir advantages because of the pump, or if you're doing a regular match and you get the double elixir time, then it's a lot safer to use your golem. So generally I cycle with one of my other 4 troop cards in the back of the tower, or I hang on and play defense, see what they play, and then counter, depending on what they do. So you can cycle out your prince, your dark prince, your baby dragon, or your mega minion in the back. And that's generally what I'll do. If not, wait and play defense. You can definitely open with an elixir pump, but it's a little bit risky because then they'll probably have one of their best counters in hand, or they'll be able to cycle into it relatively quickly if that's your opening move. So they'll generally just poison it or fireball it like so. And since it got nerfed in a recent patch, it lost a ton of health, and so it lost a lot of potential. It's weak against spells now because of that, because they'll always seem to use their spells on it. But there's definitely opportune times to use it. So it's not always the best opening move, but at times it can be. So there's a few places to place it. You place it in the very bottom right, like so, or in the very bottom left. Or you can place it right in front of your king tower where it's not susceptible to being hit by a rocket that will hit the elixir pump there, as well as one of your princess towers. Because if it's really close to a princess tower, then it'll get hit by the spell, as well as the princess tower being hit by the spell. And rocket has a really small area of effect, or AoE, so if you place it right on top of your king's tower, right in front of it, then the rocket won't be able to hit both. So you can definitely open with a pump, but I wouldn't usually recommend it, and I definitely wouldn't recommend opening with a golem. I'd recommend cycling one of your other troop cards, or playing defense and then counter pushing. So when you do play a pump, make sure that you have elixir to defend it, and this is really important. You don't usually want to plop down a pump when you just have 6 elixir, especially when you haven't felt out their deck yet, because they might have a miner in their deck, and miner is the ultimate counter to elixir pump because they just send in the miner for 3 elixir, and you just spent 6 on your elixir pump, and it gets blown up by the miner, and miner makes quick work of it. So make sure you got elixir to put down like the Prince. Prince is your main defensive card to defend the pump, because if they do send in the miner, the Mega Minion will make quick work of the miner, but he won't distract the miner since he's in the air and miner only attacks ground units. So he won't, catch his attention and distract him from hitting your pump like a ground unit would, like the Prince of the Dark Prince. So if you don't have Prince in hand, you want to use Dark Prince. You do have Tornado in this deck, so you can definitely Tornado the miner into your King's Tower to activate your King's Tower. And of course, as I explained in many other videos already, you can do the same with Hogs and Giants and Golems and Knights and all kinds of things. Alright, so feel out their deck first, and feel out what they're going to use to counter your pump, because the elixir pump was nerfed, it has low health now, so it's much more susceptible to spells. So you're not usually going to get a good elixir pump while they've got their spell in hand. And most decks are going to run a heavy spell. This deck, of course, is an exception, and there are decks out there that only run like Zap or something like that. So let's run into the next replay here. So wait till you see what their counter is. If they have miner, make sure you've got like almost full elixir before you put down your pump. And then when they send their miner in, be ready to plop that Prince down right as soon as you can. Have your Prince in cycle, get it all set up. Don't waste 6 elixir on the pump and let them counter it hard with a 3 elixir miner. That's just really bad. That's the kind of things that are going to lose you the game. And honestly, I am still learning how to use elixir pump. I don't really like it. I've never really liked it. I mean, I kind of liked it for a little while, but it just bothered me. It's just too susceptible to too many things, and you've always got to defend it, and I just didn't really like the play style of it. But it's great in big beatdown decks like this, so I'm definitely playing in this deck. Maybe it just means I need to get better at playing. So be safe with that elixir pump. Make sure that you defend it for sure. When they have a poison, because that's like one of the hardest counters to it, make sure they waste their poison on whatever else, so that it's not in hand, and then use the elixir pump and get a little bit of value with it first. Alright, so that's kind of the main purpose of the deck. Obviously it's a big beatdown deck, so you start with a golem in the back, and you kind of support it with your Prince, or your Dark Prince, and of course your Baby Dragon. That all synergizes really well with the Tornado, and of course Zap synergizes with Tornado. Golem's death damage also synergizes with Tornado. All that AoE damage, and then you got the Mega Minion in there to kind of defend and counter push. So let's quickly talk about some card replacements, and then let's go ahead and just talk about these replays that I'm running. And I am going to run the 2 losses that I got. I did manage to get all 6 wins, but there were 2 losses in there, so I'm lucky that I got my 6 wins. So first card is going to be Zap. He's giving me a wow because I got this big push going. Zap's obvious replacement is always going to be, you guessed it, Log. Right. Because it costs 2, they both cost 2, they're both the 2 light spells. You could totally replace it with like an Arrows, or another spell like the Fireball, or the Poison, or something like that. But I would definitely run Zap. It's a common, it's really good. It's really great in this meta, it's got that mini stun and that crowd clear. It's just really a great spell. Mega Minion, he's very flexible. You can replace him with minions. I'm looking at the deck right now, and there's not a lot of things that target air, because you got the Prince and the Dark Prince and the Golem, and then the building. Yeah, so your air counters are limited to Mega Minion for single target and Baby Dragon for splash damage. And then you got your Zap and your Tornado, of course, those can be used against air. And they're great against things like Minion Wars and stuff like that. So you kind of want something that's hard hitting against air for the Mega Minion. If you do have like an Inferno Dragon, that'd probably be good. If you aren't worried about too much air, if there's not a whole lot of air in the meta that you're playing in, then you could definitely replace it with like a Mini P.E.K.K.A. or a Lumberjack, both of whom got buffed recently. Otherwise, just replace it with like Minions or Musketeer, some sort of support card, archers that can attack air. For the Elixir Pump, the thing that I was thinking for Elixir Pump, because I just felt like there should be a heavy spell in this deck, was replacing it with like Poison or something. Ideally you do want the Elixir Pump because you're going for these big massive pushes. So if you have the pump, play it. Otherwise swap it out for probably like a spell. If you find any good other replacements for the Elixir Pump, let me know in the comments below and I'll test them out and let you know how it went for me as well. For Tornado, I love the Tornado. It's super OP, it has been for a while. A lot of people have been saying it should be nerfed. I wouldn't replace it for anything, but of course if you don't have it, even if it's low level, it's alright, because it's all about the utility of it. It's not about the damage, it's about the effect that it does. So if you don't have it at all though, you could replace it with like a defensive structure. Go-to would be Tesla, because Tesla's great right now, it got buffed recently. There's an example of the Miner countering the Elixir Pump, right? I didn't place my Prince close enough to where the Miner landed, though I predicted him to go into the wrong spot. Anyway, back to card replacements. Inferno Tower would be good too. There's something to kind of defend, and then allow you to build up some control to go into a big counter push. For Baby Dragon, you want to replace it with something that's a little bit tanky and has some splash damage. Go-to would be Executioner. Of course, you're more likely to have Baby Dragon than Executioner because it's from, you know, the training camp. It's from like the lowest arena or whatever. But if you don't, or if you don't have a high level one, you're playing this in ladder, you can replace it with like a Wizard, something with some splash damage. And if you don't have any of those at high level, just replace it with another cheap support card, like the Musketeer or something like that. Alright, then for your two Princes or your Golem, if you're going to replace these cards, they're definitely going to change the archetype of the deck. Because that's the whole point of this deck, is the Golem Double Prince combo. When I say Double Prince, of course I mean the Prince and the Dark Prince. So my go-to replacements for either of the Princes would be another unit that has like a dash effect. So that would be like the Bandit, or the Battle Ram is the one that I was thinking of. Alright, so this is my 6th win. And then we'll go through my losses. You could also replace them with basically any like kind of melee, relatively tanky, you know, attacking unit. Like, I guess my go-to is just going to be Knight, but Knight was just nerfed. You could probably do like a Valkyrie or something like that, because Valkyrie was just buffed. You could definitely do like an Ice Golem or something to tank, but you have that Golem in there, so I take that back. You probably wouldn't want an Ice Golem. I go for something with damage, like a Lumberjack or a Mini P.E.K.K.A. would go well in there, because those also were buffed recently. But again, you know, you want to run the Prince and the Dark Prince, because that's kind of like the whole fun of this deck. And the Golem, of course, he's the biggest tank in the game. I love the Golem. I love how heavy he is. I love how much damage he does. I love his death damage and explodes. I love how he synergizes with Clone. It's starting to sound like he's my new favorite card instead of Knight. Maybe it's because Knight got the nerf stick so hard. Anyway, for Golem, replace him with another heavy tank. The go-tos would be Giant, even Lava Hound. Somebody try this deck with Lava Hound and let me know how it goes. I'm playing against the Lava Hound deck right here, actually. Giant, you could probably run a mini tank too, like an Ice Golem. Maybe you could even have a little fun and do like a Giant Skeleton. So you want kind of a heavy tank in there. So probably the Giant is the go-to, because that's like the easiest replacement, because you get that again at the lowest arena. And the cool thing about this deck is that it's F2P, or free to play, which is a loose term in this game, because my whole account is free to play, my main account, and I have all the legendaries now, except for the Royal Ghost, because he's the most recent, and I have enough gold to buy it, and I'm just waiting for him to show up in my shop. So when people say free to play, they generally mean like lower trophy count, people that haven't spent a lot of money on the game to unlock cards early and get legendaries early and things like that. So basically like a bunch of commons, rares, and maybe a few epics. So this does have a lot of epics in them, in this deck. They can be replaced if you want to replace them, but they're epics that are relatively easy to obtain. So this deck, since it doesn't have any legendaries in it, you could definitely consider it a free-to-play deck. Alright, and there's that last win. Now let's go ahead and jump into the losses, and let's see where I went wrong with this deck and how I could have done things better. So here's the first loss. Alright. So on top though, Marcos has in his hand 2 spells, Zap and Poison, and then he's got the Lumberjack and the Dark Prince. He opens with Lumberjack, interestingly. Now I open with the Pump, and see, that's why you don't want to open with the Pump. Because look, he just poisons my tower and the Pump. And so the Pump does get off a little bit of elixir. It gets like 2 ticks off, I think. So it does give me some elixir, but it costs me 6 and only gives me 2. So I don't know if it's really worth it. And he got damage on my tower with that poison. So I decided to go back with a big push here early on, because it's the double elixir challenge in this one. You know, it's relatively safe to do that. In Tornado all their units to clump them up together, and then your Dark Prince and your Baby Dragon will cleave them or splash them. You can also toss in a Zap in there, and you'll see me do that a lot. I'll Tornado all the stuff together and zap it for a bunch of AoE damage, allowing your really cheap spell to have a lot of benefit, because it will do that small amount of damage to a bunch of different units, making it in turn do a bunch of overall damage. Now look, every time that I've got my elixir pump out, he's got the poison. So maybe that's the first mistake that I made, right? I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of things I could have done better here. At this point we're doing kind of even. I think that I feel I can build up an advantage. And see how I put the pump on the left side now? That's because I know he's going to be chipping away at it with the poison. So I don't want to take my damage on the right tower, because that's already the one that he's done damage to. That's the one that he's pushing. So I don't know if that was the best tornado there. I probably could have saved it or saved the elixir. I don't think it was really necessary. So it looks like I'm really just trying to get those pumps out. Probably should have put that one on the left there. And I wasn't thinking this through, obviously, in the heat of the battle. Because I recall this fight, and I wasn't thinking about that at all. Just thinking about getting the pump down. But looking at the replay, you know, hindsight's 20/20, right? I do have really good vision, but my hindsight's even better. So I could see that I could have placed it on the left side and taken less damage on the right tower, because he wouldn't have been able to poison it too. Now, I got a decent push there. You can see the princes charge up and do a ton of damage. And I don't get my Mega Minion down in time. I remember that. I remember being really upset about that, because I was hoping the Mega Minion would soak up both of the shots from the Electro Wizard, because the Electro Wizard can hit 2 targets at once if they're within range. But if there's only one within range, then both the shots will hit the same target. So we got some damage off my tower with that. At this point I've got a hard defend. I know things aren't looking so good for me, so I'm probably getting a little discouraged. He does have poison in hand, so he can just poison cycle the tower at this point. He just needs like the poison and the zap and he's dead. But I think he's gonna opt to push. Yeah, see, I just couldn't get enough defense. He gives me a GG. That's nice. Alright, so I did lose with this deck twice, as I mentioned. Let's look through that other loss and see where else I went wrong. Okay. So this time, what do I do to open? Well, my opening hand isn't very good. I'm probably going to either open with a pump or cycle the Baby Dragon in the back. I open with pump a lot in this challenge because I've got double elixir, so it's safer to kind of just cycle through your cards. You're not like risking as much if you open with a pump early and then they try to push. But maybe I'm wrong. You know, maybe I'm completely mistaken about that. But that's my personal opinion on it. So Tornado's really effective against P.E.K.K.A. I opted to put the Baby Dragon out there just to have an air unit, but you know, it doesn't do enough damage. Baby Dragon's DPS is really low. He's just kind of tanky. He takes a lot of damage and he's got splash damage, but his overall damage per second is really low. So here I pull everything together into the tower. Now that's an awesome move to do. Use a Tornado on their tower, on their Princess Tower, because it pulls all their units together onto their tower. So all your cleaving units, such as your Baby Dragon, your Zap, which is a spell, not a unit, but it still does AoE damage, your Dark Prince, they'll all benefit, and even the death damage from the Golem, from hitting all of their units that are sucked in by the Tornado. And it'll also do damage to the tower, because you pulled them all in on top of the tower. It also then allows all your units to focus on that tower more easily, rather than being distracted on or by units off to the side, which is, you know, Clash 101, right? Put units in the middle of the map to distract the oncoming wave. Alright, so he just goes ahead and spell cycles out to finish off my tower. I think I'm hoping for a big push, but I do see that he has a P.E.K.K.A. P.E.K.K.A.'s a hard counter to my Golem, so that's not good for me. He's also running Mega Knight, so since it's a double elixir challenge, he's definitely running a very heavy deck. Now, look how I pull everything away from my golem. It allows my golem to get through, so I get the P.E.K.K.A. off my golem, but my golem doesn't have any support now, and that P.E.K.K.A. is just wreaking havoc on all my support, and he's able to defend there. However, that naked golem does do a lot of damage to the enemy tower. And look at that charge, the prince gets off on it, gets a shot off on it, and it finishes it off. So I actually got a tower there. So let's see how things go for me. Alright, I opt to go for an aggressive golem, because at this point I'm just trying to keep pressure on him, and then try to do something fancy and pull the P.E.K.K.A. away. It doesn't work out too well though, because then he just kills my support again. And I think that I'm hoping that I will finish off the main ping tower on the right with a distraction, but at this point I'm like, oh, maybe I could go on the left. And I remember this, I'm like, okay, it's looking good for me, I'm gonna have a big comeback here. But look, he's got a big push coming here. There's not too much I can do about it. I opted to tornado it altogether, but I don't have enough support there. The tornado and the zap is pretty good. I actually defend really well there. That nice zap and finishing off with a minion. So let's see how things go. It'd be really embarrassing if I accidentally showed the wrong replay. This is one that I win. No, I'm pretty sure it's one I lose. So I do the baby dragon there. I put the elixir pump all the way in the bottom right. It's not defended there by the towers as much, but it's less likely to take damage from a spell that'll also hit the princess tower, and I'm more willing to take damage on my king tower than my princess tower because it has more health. And at this point, next tower down wins the game. So he's got a big push going here. Even though I tornado that ice wizard, since it's on the other side of the river, it kind of stays over there. You can't go through the river by effective tornado. However, the Mega Knight can. He leaps across the river and hits my prince there, who I used to try to finish his ice wizard who was over there. Try to kill his support with my melee units, you know? And it didn't work out for me. His Mega Knight finished it off. And he's getting a lot of damage off here, and I haven't been able to get any off on his tower for a while now. Now he does an aggressive Mega Knight. That's good for me, because it's easy to defend. Mega Knight's not at all an aggressive card. It's very much a defensive counter push card. Alright, he wants to try to finish it off with just chip damage from the miner and spells. And he can easily do that at this point, honestly. You know, again, hindsight, I probably could have gone for his main tower more, because it's really low health now. It's lower than his princess tower. So that's what I should have done. But it's alright, you get caught in the heat of the battle, like I said. And I zapped the miner just to try to buy me enough time, but the bats actually finish it off. And it was really close, you know, I almost won that match, actually. But there was a few things I could have done better. I did get a solid comeback, I did get some cool pushes, I did almost finish him off there at the end, but it just wasn't enough, and I could have done a few things differently, which would have won me the match. But hey, that's how it goes, and I did get all the challenges, all of the second challenge won, stage 2. I got all 6 wins in that with this deck. So try this deck out if you're looking for a deck for the Lunar New Year week challenge, if it's still going on. And if you're not, this deck is definitely verified to work in all the other modes like ladder, classic challenges, or grand challenges, or even double and triple elixir challenges.